coming in on the back of the heated arguments in the Supreme Court. We are being told that the judges have taken a 2 minutes break and then the proceeding will start, perhaps to consult each other. And let me quickly recap this piece of information breaking first. Here's the recap of arguments so far in the Supreme Court. Advocate Kishan Kaul, appearing for Eknath Shinde, began by saying that, look, there are three main issues. One, that Shinde was removed as the leader of the Sena legislature party. That was an illegal act by the Shiv Sena, should not have been done. Point number two, made by the Shinde camp before the Supreme Court bench, is that life threats, there is threat to life to 39 rebel Sena MLAs, which is why they did not go to the High Court, which is why they've directly approached the Supreme Court. And the most important, and the third, is about the procedure, that the Deputy Speaker is acting in haste, he's acting illegally when his own position is in doubt. Can he be presiding over such an issue and deciding the next course of action? Neelashish.
Well, absolutely. You've summed that up, Pranesh, given the fact that now the bench has risen. So we are expecting a short break because usually they get up for lunch earlier. But given the importance of this case, they hung around for a little longer. They sat for a little longer. They have taken up the crux of the arguments from the Shinde camp. They will, of course, discuss this matter further.
But yes, Editor-in-Chief Rahul Shivshankar also joining a broadcast. Rahul, fast-paced developments. The latest is that the judges have taken a 2-minute break.
Yes, indeed, a 2-minute break, and that's really a pregnant pause in this high suspense drama. Now, remember, Pranesh, what is really at stake here? What has happened is that the Deputy Speaker, as you've been pointing out, has come out and said very clearly that 12 to 15 MLAs stand disqualified because they switch camps. Now, we know that the anti-defection law suggests that 2/3 must leave a party to escape the provisions of the law. That is precisely what has happened. 2/3 and more have in fact quit Uddhav's Shiv Sena to join the rebel camp. So on the face of it, there should be no problems. But the Deputy Speaker has stepped in, disqualified 12 to 13 to 14 to 15. That number remains a little fuzzy, but certainly has disqualified those individuals. The Shinde camp now says that that action is illegal, it's arbitrary, and they have quoted precedent. Now, if the Supreme Court upholds the Deputy Speaker's decision, that could be problematic because the total number of MLAs that can vote in the House will come down, as a result of which the majority mark will also come down, and Uddhav Shiv Sena will be in a better position. Also, if some of these MLAs are disqualified, the others will feel disincentivized because they themselves will not be then 2/3 of the existing party. And therefore, they will also be threatened with disqualification. So a warning shot has been fired by the Deputy Speaker. Now, Mr. Kaul, who's appearing for the Shinde camp, has come out and said that, look, Deputy Speaker himself is not in control. He himself has a no-confidence motion against him. And there is enough precedent to suggest that if he acts, his actions will not be considered legal. They should not be upheld. So when the Supreme Court bench now reconvenes after its break, it will be looking into the merits of Mr. Kaul's arguments. If they succeed, the Shinde camp has what could be called very safely the upper hand, and then a floor test will be order of the day, and it is also possible that the government will then be voted out on the floor of the House, which is where the matter should be. So this is very, very key, because if they get the Supreme Court ruling in their favor, the Shinde camp will then immediately petition the governor for a strength show. And that then changes this entire game completely, and it will lead to the fall of the Uddhav Thackeray government the moment the House convenes, moment time is set for that motion.
And the other important thing, Rahul, is that when the judge asked Mr. Kaul, Advocate Kaul, that why have you not gone to the High Court? Why have you come to the Supreme Court to this? The Shinde camp says, look, there is threat to life of 39 MLAs. He was talking about the comments made by Sanjay Raut.
Absolutely. Look, all of that, of course, will be taken care on the natural course. But the fundamental question right now is whether these Sena MLAs will stand disqualified. disqualified, the ones who have rebelled. Because if they are, the game is over for the Shinde camp. Because, as I told you, the standing voting strength of the House comes down. The majority mark that is required by Uddhav Thackeray to survive also comes down. And he has a stronger shot of staying on in power. Plus, the others who would have witnessed the Supreme Court upholding the disqualification will feel disincentivized, and they will be more open to suasion. What is not in doubt right now is that the Shinde camp has 39 MLAs, which is above that mark that
doesn't attract the provisions of the
anti-defection
law.
Doesn't attract the provisions of the anti-defection law. When that number begins to come down below 39 is when it becomes problematic. As of now, all those MLAs are very much sitting with Mr. Shinde in Guwahati, in that hotel, doing their yoga, going about their life, but they'll all be keenly watching this Supreme Court hearing. If the judge believes that the disqualification that has been done now by the Deputy Speaker is legal, it will become an uphill battle for them to form the next government, that is a rebel camp. They will also not be able to go with the confidence that they are demonstrating right now to the governor to seek time for a floor test or even for a parade of their MLAs, because quite frankly those people would have been kicked out.
And we've only heard one side on this, Nilashish. Kapil Sibal is the one representing the Deputy Speaker. Will he be heard next? That's the question, Nilashish.
Well, of course, as we know that the bench has risen and taken a break, but thereafter, of course, the other side will have to be heard. We know that Uddhav Thackeray's side is being represented by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. The Deputy Speaker will also be represented. His arguments will be presented. And, of course, the
resume. News coming in. Arguments resume. Once again, the judges were on a 2-minute break, perhaps to deliberate. We don't know, but arguments resume. Before this 2-minute break, we were hearing from the Shinde camp. Advocate Kishan Kaul, representing Eknath Shinde, laid out the main points in that petition that we broke on Times Now yesterday, and now the bench has reconvened. The hearing resumes. Nilashish.
Well, yes, absolutely. The hearing has resumed. The bench has reconvened. As far as the issue at hand is concerned right now, it is still that of the Deputy Speaker's role and whether he has the locus to, in fact, go ahead with issuing these notices and taking action and hearing the rebel MLAs on that notice that was issued, given the fact that his role in itself has been challenged, his removal has been sought. So, of course, now Neeraj Kishan Kaul is going ahead by reading the precedent that he was alluding to earlier, the judgment, the 5-judge Constitution Bench judgment that he was referring to as far as the role of the Deputy Speaker is concerned. So he is pointing out the various paragraphs from there at this point to persuade to buttress his argument that the Speaker cannot, in fact, go ahead and take any action, cannot go ahead with the action with regard to the disqualification notices. It has to be that first his removal that has been sought through a no confidence motion, that is heard. So that direction is primarily what is sought at this point before moving ahead. So Neeraj Kishan Kaul is continuing his arguments. Of course, thereafter we will hear the Deputy Speaker's version as well as the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray faction's version from their lawyers as well. But yes, as of now, the question remains the same, as Rahul was also pointing out. 2/3 majority is something that Shinde claims to have and needs to prove on the floor of the House. And if we can do that, that will depend on this hearing. That is where it
right. So as we speak, Advocate Kaul is reading relevant portions from the Nawab Rabia judgment that he was mentioning. And let me quickly get in a word from Arunil. Arunil, the last that you heard from the Shinde camp was this, that after the hearing in the Supreme Court, we are ready to approach the governor. Shivani, you've been speaking to rebels in the Shinde camp. What is the last and the latest that you're picking up?
Well, definitely earlier they saw and they in fact told us that they will be seeking an appointment from the governor, but just because the governor was down with COVID. He couldn't give them appointments. In fact, no video conferencing also took place because of that reason. But now when governor is out, they had reached out to inform the governor that there is a threat to their family, threat to their lives, and that is why security shall be given, and that is why governor had written to the central government and in fact to the DGP of Maharashtra to provide them proper security to all the rebels' family in Mumbai. And
Right.
now, in fact, in the morning hours itself,
Right. So